Alright, hello everybody, and welcome to Dicecloud version 1, my personal favorite version of Dicecloud, and we're gonna do a few videos, see how things go, doing a semi-tutorial of how to actually use it. I keep hearing some of my friends complain about not understanding Dicecloud, so hopefully this will help get things clear. We have 6 general tabs you consist in. You've got your stats, your features, your inventory, followed by your spells, persona, and journal. Generally, all your information is going to be stored in 5 of these 6 locations. Persona is mostly empty. But for this situation, we're making a new character entirely. And we're using the help a fast character. A lovely little website that allows us to very quickly create any character of any kind. And for example, we're going to make a level 3 character. Everything else is going to be pretty freeform. No other modifications, obviously. And magic items are going to be left out as well, because magic items can be quite enough for another video in and of itself. Alright. We're going to create the character. We're going to display it as for our sake, we're gonna make this an actual portrait character sheet. There we go. Ariel of Nightholm, an order cleric. Very interesting. All right, well this is not too bad at all. We're gonna zoom out a little bit on that just for my clarity's sake. But now that we have Ariel of Nightholm, we can begin with our character sheet. Of course, you have your name, gender, and race featured, or as the requirements to make a character sheet on Dicecloud. And as we can tell, we are name and race. However, the gender is always a bit difficult to tell with fast character. But RL sounds masculine to me, so we're gonna go with male. This really doesn't have to be filled out, but that's okay. Nightholm. For sake of ease, I don't remember how to spell things easily enough. Male, and we're gonna go with high elf, if I recall correctly. Yes, high elf. Okay, with the urchin background, uncommon for an elf, but very interesting. And it's going to generate us a fresh new character with no presets whatsoever. Heck, we're even in the dying state. And of course, as you can see, we have our hit points, all of our stats on the left, our armor class, our speed, our initiative modifier, proficiency bonus, saving throws, any conditions we may have, which we can actually add any on the fly, and then our skills. The stats tab is very much your overview tab of your quick access items. However, the important part for today is going to be the journal, primarily setting up our character sheet's class, which in this case is cleric. Now, for sake of ease, we're going to my favorite website for D&D information, Wikidot. And we're going to quickly scroll on over to classes and make our way down up to cleric. Just for this, it of course has all the information we need, especially the important parts. And of course, when I make character sheets, I tend to make heavy use of the Features tab. But for now, we're going to simply put down the statistical information we need from our cleric. So we're gonna add a new class. We're gonna add cleric. and we're going to include level 3. And for making things look pretty, we're going to make this bright yellow. Doesn't change anything here, but that's nice. And we'll do the same for this as well, just to add a little bit of color to the sheet. Oh, and our race matches the top. That's right, that's right. Which is another thing we have to do. We have to go back to the front page and grab the High Elf sheet as well. Of course, this includes all elves, but we're going to specifically need the High Elf and the regular elf sections of the book. Now, rather than flipping between two tabs, what I tend to do is a little quick and easy. Copy and paste. I go into the Features tab. Our base ability scores are here, as well as our attacks and proficiencies. And we'll just simply include that all in there. And then we're going to go back over here. Of course, there's this whole text blob of information we could take a quick gander at. However, we're really wanting this information down here. The ability score increase, our cantrip, our elf weapon training, and the extra language we receive. We go down, we'll hit enter a couple of times just to separate things out, and boom. Now, unfortunately, that leaves this an unsightly feature, but that can be easily fixed with pressing the minus key 3 times, and then enter. As now there's a line break here, and you don't see anything. Anything you place above the line break, however, Elven racial features, for example, will show up big text here and actually be visible on the main section, on the overview. Now, if you didn't want the text being large, you can just press an enter, and there you go. It'll still work fine out here. And now we're going to quickly. Oh, and as you can tell, a lot of the text is like crunched together. Your ability score increase and then your age together. It does not separate by enter keys, so 1, 2, 3 space bars. You just throw 3 space bars every time, which is roughly the equivalent of a tab, but keyboards and tab don't really work on websites very well. At least ones that aren't coded for it. And so of course we're just going to quickly run through here and press enter 3 times on most of the lines that have a line following it. And there. Much cleaner, much cleaner. Now, we're going to actually get things going, in which case we're going to set up our race today, which is going to be dexterity score increased by 2, and our intelligence by 1. So we'll go back to the journal, click High Elf, the pencil icon, and this is where we can affect we'll add effects and proficiencies unique to our character's race. And so we're going to add the effect, which is increasing the ability score of dexterity by 2, and do that again, add effect ability scores intelligence by 1. As you can see here, this is all set up. Now unfortunately there is a weird little bug where adding any resistance is default to acid anyway, even though I've selected lightning there. But thankfully we don't have to worry about that today. So we've got our dexterity and our intelligence bonuses. So we can clear those from the list, don't have to worry about. Now, age is not something we have to worry about as much. That's mostly that is mostly a fluff feature, or rather it's a roleplay feature that we don't utilize in terms of mechanics for the website. So we'll keep this in here because we'll actually change this to that. And we'll make it a dark color. The reason I chose black for this, which by the way, if you're trying to alter colors, you have to confirm before going back into it. The reason I chose black is because this Going down in columns is the hierarchy of colors. So I chose black because it is the lowest in the hierarchy. It'll always be the last. If I chose green, you'll see base ability scores got shifted to the right because now elven racial features is a higher priority. Now, this is a bit hard to read without having some understanding of it, so we're actually going to include 2 asterisks, which is Shift 8, which now makes the text bold, easier to read, easier to see that that's there. Let's see, our alignment. Our alignment's going to be interesting because while this says one thing, our character sheet might say something else. And we're going to actually continue down the list here of boldening anything that we see. Uh-oh. Our speed is actually not going to be in here at all because we have base walking speed of 30 feet. Good to know. We can delete that information from the sheet because we can actually add that. As we will add the effect from our stats, which includes hit points, temp HP, and etc. We're going to need speed. Now, instead of add speed, we want base value because we're going to start with 30 feet of movement speed. Now, for this situation, there is no difference between base value and adding because we're starting at 0. However, if, let's say, we had a plus 15 movement speed from some class ability, base value would still base value would set us to 30, and that plus 15 would then apply to 45. While add would instead take the 15 and then add 30 to it, which would put it to 45 as well. However, it's better for it to be base value simply for the fact of this is what it will default to if you have no other modifiers applied. Alright, so we have our stats increases, we have our speed set, which if we go over to the stats tab actually, we can see our dexterity is already increased by 2 to the +1 modifier, which if you are someone who prefers having their scores be on the bottom, you actually can edit that in the settings. You can swap the stats and modifiers, as you can see here. We can also turn on variant encumbrance or hide the spells tab entirely. However, we're playing a cleric, so we want the spells tab, and I use the numbers big. So we're going to keep it this way for my tutorials here. Now, going back into elven racial features, we're going to continue scrolling down and see what we have. We've got dark vision. Elves have dark vision, as most races do. However, unlike D&D Beyond, Dicecloud does not have any sight-based mechanics, so we won't have to worry about that. Our Fey ancestry, though, does give us something interesting, as we have advantage on saving throws against being put to saving throws against charmed effects, and magic cannot put you to sleep. Very interesting. And what we're going to do, while we usually don't have a way to simply put this in here, charm is usually a charisma save. It is a willpower save for those who've played other versions of the game. Therefore, what we can throw it in here is an effect under saving throws for charisma. And we're going to add a conditional benefit, which is an advantage against charm. Which, as you can see here, depending on what selection you choose on the left column, the right column does modify, because there's many things that you can do to certain things. We can add modifiers to the numerical values themselves. We can add advantage or disadvantage to the checks automatically. We can give a passive bonus, or we can you can set to automatically fail, which is interesting. But there's our advantage against charm. Now if we go back to the stats tab, we have an asterisk here, because now we see it right here. It does nothing to the numbers, so it won't break with Avray or any other bot you're using, but it does include a little bit of information there. Of course, we're going to continue looking down. We have the trance, which is a flavor ability for the most part. The next two are not, which is the keen senses and the languages. So the keen senses gives us proficiency in the perception skill. So we're going to go back to our journal, our high elf, our pencil. I said our pencil. But instead of adding an effect, we're going to add a proficiency. And of course we can choose between all these items here: skills, saving throws, weapons, armor, tools, and languages, which will come back for the languages. And depending on what selection you make, you'll either have a name box or a drop-down menu for anything that's already coded in. And we are, because this is the keen senses trait, we are proficient with perception. For those making a bard, you can actually set half proficiency, and you can set that to a feature called Jack of all trades, and there you go. You'll just have to make sure every skill is added individually. But for today's use, we're going to be staying with the proficient option. And now we have this perception proficiency. Going back to the stats tab, you can see the +2. Passive is bumped up to 12. Passive is the number in the parentheses here. And we have a little dark circle here that represents the proficiency. If it's half proficient, I believe it is a half circle, but we can actually check to be certain. So we're going to decide to be half proficient with it. Half proficient is a crescent moon. That's right. Half circle is beyond. My bad. And then expertise is actually oh, that's the cleric. Expertise gives you a moon with a little dot in it. Well, full moon with a dot in it. You see a little donut icon. Oh, you can see it here even. Oopsie. See it here even. And we're going to go back to proficient. We'll go back to our elven racial features, and we can remove that from our list, making this easier to look through because we have less to see. Next up we have languages. We have common and elven. So we're just going to cut that one from there. And of course, scrolling down further, we have the extra language, which is one additional language of our choice. Well, that's good to know. But we're going to go to our journal, and we're going to add the proficiency, the language. We're going to press Control V here to paste in the common and elven section. And we're actually going to go take a look at what the fast character sheet made for us. As we take a look for our... Let's see here. We're 194 years old, 5'2" with 122 pounds, which is very light for a person. Oh, it chose the cantrip poison spray. Okay. Where, oh where might our things be? Where, oh where might our languages... There it is. It did not choose for us. Interesting. Of course, you can't rely on everything, because it might be using out-of-date information, but that's okay. So we're gonna choose... Let's go Celestial, because we're a cleric, and we want the language of the gods. So we're going to either choose to add a separate language proficiency, or, to keep things nice and clean, we're going to replace this with a comma, add a comma here, and add Celestial. And now, if we go to stats, you see nothing was changed. But instead, in Persona, we have a Languages tab. Common, Elven, Celestial now included. Which, of course, you could also include images, or Each section here you have your name, your alignment, which I believe our alignment is lawful good. Good to know. We're going to go with lawful good. A lawful good cleric. Gender, our race, and we can put a URL for a picture, as you saw at the beginning of this video. Going forward, we have our description, so you can put a visual description for your character here. Personality traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws, which, if you wish to, you can easily just copy and paste from your background, which we have the urchin background. Or you can make one up yourself, as you are allowed to do fully. And then you have the background, which applies its own things. Background can add proficiencies. So it's always good to make sure you have that fully filled out. We know we took the urchin background, which means that's going to be filled in, and we'll actually take a quick gander at what the urchin background has to offer. Backgrounds, we're going to see the urchin. And of course, we have all these abilities here, but we're going to take a quick grab of this stuff for the actual information. Well, these are actual information. This is actual information as well. However, this is the mechanic stuff that we need. And this is for the sake of ease today. And of course, make sure you separate them out with spacebar so you can read them more easily. Alright, there you go. And of course, to make this actually valuable, we'll add 3 because we have no languages. Oh, whoopsie. Which, yes, Dicecloud does update in real time, so you don't have to worry about too much. So we need our sleight of hand skill, our stealth skill, which is interesting for a cleric, a lawful good cleric, high elf, with the urchin background. So I'm assuming from humble beginnings, one might say, if a little less than humble. But now we're going to add a tool proficiency, which is unique in and of itself. We have the disguise, if I can spell properly, and followed by the thieves tools, all of which we are proficient with. The equipment I'm going to grab. There we go. And actually add a custom item. We have the inventory tab, as you can finally see here. Our net worth, because everyone has a value to them. The carry weight that we have, which includes the full information on certain carry weight capacities based on your strength score. The equipped items will be items that pop up on your character sheet if you have your character sheet linked to Dicecloud. Wait, no. If you have your character sheet linked to Avray, my bad. The carried items is your general carried items, and your coin pouch is automatically worked with. As you can see, just by upping that, increases. We have 1 gold piece worth of net worth. And now we're broke again. We're going to add not a container, because a container is the coin pouch like that. An item for inventory is pretty limited, however, there's plenty of items to work with. I even have some custom item libraries, which include packs and whatnot. But we're going to add a custom item. We don't need to rename it or anything like that. We just had to put this information in here. So we have a pouch containing 10 gold, a set of common clothes, a token to remember your parents by, a pet mouse, which, knowing my luck, has already been long since passed, a map of the city you grew up in, and a small knife, which I always consider as a dagger. Really nice to have that information, but for now, that'll be put away for later use. If you really need to, you can also label this as starting equipment, so that way you can keep track of it more easily. And since we're already here, we're actually going to grab the starting equipment from the cleric as well, so that we can quite quickly modify what we have from there. And of course, we're going to add space bars to separate things out just pretty. There we go. But now that that's through with, we're going to go back to our features, and you can see that the tools were added for the disguise kit and the thieves tools. Any tool proficiency, well, it's mostly all just tool proficiencies or armor proficiencies or weapon proficiencies show up in your features tab. We're going to now continue looking here so we can finish up the race today. And next time we'll actually get started on our class. So we gained the cantrip from the wizard spell list, which we've already seen is the poison spray cantrip, as you can see here. So we'll grab that real quick. And going to spells, it is completely blank. You have the options to add a spell list, a spell from a library, and a custom spell. The spell from the library only include the SRD, yeah. The spells from the library only includes the SR documents spells, and a spell list is where you house the spells within. However, you can also simply just add, if you have no spell list to start with, you can add a spell, and it will automatically add the spell list itself. And we can name the spell list. Let's name them wizard spells, in case we take more wizard spells in the future. It already includes our intelligence modifier for the spell save DC and our attack bonus, which, if you notice, now that we actually have some of the mechanical things, whenever you have to use a modifier from your stats, it is a lowercase for the stat itself, and then uppercase for the mod. Same for proficiency, followed by bonus. If we wanted to just use the stat itself, we would simply use that. As you can see here, we have an intelligence of 11, and now it shows that we have max prepared spells of 11. However, that's not the case for this situation, so we're going to remove that from there. The description is up to you for what you wish to put in there. I often actually put the expanded spell lists in here, so I can more easily keep track of what spells I actually have. We'll make this blue so we can see it more easily against the yellow. And this happens. There we go. So now we have poison spray already added in. And to take a closer look at poison spray itself, conjuration cantrips prepared, cast down with one action, range of 10 feet, components of verbal somatic, instantaneous effect. And of course there's a spell's description, as well as the fact that it scales. If we click the pencil icon, we can see we can modify the name, the list it's in, the spell level, all the way from cantrip to 9th level, the school, and if we're prepared or not. We are always prepared for the spell, so it doesn't count against our prepared spells. Whether or not it's a ritual, the casting time and range, as well as the verbal, somatic, or material components. The reason that the material is not a checkbox is because anything you fill in here automatically applies the material moniker. The duration is instantaneous. However, if you put concentration, it will say up to automatically, so you only need to put in the actual time. The spell's description, and we include coding information for the actual modifications of the spell. This way you can more easily work with what you have. It's a constitution saving throw, so it's going to do that instead of having an attack bonus. But the damage itself is going to scale based on your level. Now if you see here it says level with a capital L, is because it is not bound to any class level. So you could be 3 levels cleric and 11 levels barbarian. You're still a 14th level character, so your cantrips are going to reflect that. Of course, there's the range for the details. and the damage type itself. And now that that's done with, we actually have a little fire icon here, or the spell icon, rather. We can actually throw, let's throw this there, because that's poison color. And now it also colors the spell icon, which has its own hierarchy situation, just like the features do. So if we had another spell that was colored green, it would appear below the purple. Alright, now we're almost finished with the Elven racial features today. We have this finished up. We have the Elven weapon training, which includes weapons training, obviously. We're going to actually grab that information, and then we will delete this. And we will delete the extra language because we already have that information. And now this has become so much smaller and much more compact to read. We are going to go to our journal on the High Elf race. Use the pencil icon one last time. We're going to add proficiency with a weapon. And we're going to include all these weapons. Now, generally, it's automatic. When you add an item, it'll automatically consider you proficient with that item. However, this is just for ease of accessibility. So you can automatically see you're proficient with the longsword, short bow, and longbow, without anything worried about your class. And just to round things off, so we can start things off quite easy next time, we're going to do our actual stats, which includes a 13 strength, a 10 dexterity, a 14 constitution, an 11 intelligence, a 15 wisdom, and a 12 charisma. Not bad stats at all. So 13, 10, 14, 11, 15, 12. 13, 10, 14, 11, 11, 11, 15, 12. Now, you might notice one thing is off the bat a bit odd. Strength is way down here. I cannot tell you for the life of me why strength is way down here when adding an effect, strength is the first thing on the list. But when organized, because it's clearly not organized in terms of alphabetical, because dexterity is first when charisma should be. I don't know. I couldn't tell you for the life of me why, but strength is literally the last stat on here. But we don't have to worry about it, because we're aware of that, and we'll work with it. Our dexterity is a 10, so that does not change. Our constitution is a 14. Our intelligence is an 11. Our wisdom is a 15. As you can see, I'm just modifying the values given to us. And our charisma is a 12. So I can remove those numbers there. And now all these numbers are modified. If we go back to our stats, all those numbers are there. And all of our other information utilizing that set of numbers applied. We've got all of our saving throws modified. Our AC is set up to 11. Our health is set up automatically because we have plus 2 constitution. So it's not adding any levels it's not adding any class HP. It is simply adding the proficiency bonus. No, it's simply adding the constitution bonus based on our level. And of course, all of our skills are set up as well. We get a 14 passive perception. It's not bad for a cleric, but we can definitely get that higher eventually. But that should be all for today. We managed to get through the entirety of the Elven racial features, and not too bad a time. Next time we'll work on getting the cleric class set up, so that way we can have a bit more information here. We can have our spells ready, we can have our spell slots ready as well. And maybe if this works out well, we can start doing the inventory after that. But I hope you guys had fun, and I hope this has been educational. like and subscribe if you want to see more.